Okay. Hello. Welcome. My name's Carol Braford, and I'm here with my Citizens Climate Lobby co-leader, Tim Ely. We lead the St. Louis chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, and we're glad you're here, and I know people will be listening to the recording of this, so I'm really glad people are interested in this and concerned. So I want to start by acknowledging the Earth Day organization, Dr. Jessica Watson, and your whole staff. It's just amazing what you've accomplished in the last 9 days. 9 days of workshops. Isn't that amazing? And it's just great to see what you've done. I've listened to many of them, and I'm really glad that I'm going to be able to watch the recordings that are linked on the website for the next month. So that's really wonderful. So I want to tell you what we're going to do during this half hour. We're going to go at the beginning, just give you a sense of what Citizens Climate Lobby is all about, who we are and why we do what we do and how we do it. And then Tim is going to talk about the legislation that we support that's in Congress right now. He's going to go through that legislation and give you a chance to ask questions. And the way you'll do that is with the chat. And once we complete that whole review of the legislation, we'll switch to a conversation about solutions, other solutions, and actions you can take. So that's going to fill up 30 minutes really fast, I'm sure. So let's see. So I want to start with, I'm going to move my screen for a second. I want to start with a little quote, because the thing that I really think makes sense is for each of us, we're doing so much about the environment, each of us in our own way, and yet the question that I think I sometimes forget to get present to is why I'm doing it. So I'm going to read you a quote. This is by E.B. White, who's the author of the book I know of his, is Charlotte's Web. And this is from an interview in the New York Times Magazine years ago. He said, "Every morning I awake torn between a desire to save the world and an inclination to savor it. This makes it hard to plan the day. But if we forget to savor the world, what possible reason do we have for saving it? In a way, savoring must come first." So I want to start there with giving all of us an opportunity to get present to why we're here. What is it that we're concerned about? What is it that we especially love? It could be something that you want to make sure is available for future generations. And the more specific you get, the better, because that will really touch your heart then. So for me, I could say, for example, I love the beach and I love hiking in the woods. But to get really specific, I remember what it was like to go outside in my backyard with all my brothers and sisters when I was a kid and be able to climb in the apple trees and then be able to go hike in the woods. We wouldn't even tell our mom we were going. We'd just go take a hike in the woods right behind the orchard and cross the stream and, things like that. Having those things available in the future. So I invite you to throw things into the chat. What's important to you? What do you want to make sure is available for future generations? Anything you'd like to put. So Tim, do you have one you wanted to share?
Let me think. That was homework for me, and I was.
That's all right. That's okay.
Oh, okay. Should I put it in the chat?
You could put it in the chat. Let's do that. So let's
let's practice putting it in the chat here.
Yeah. I bet if Bob Henkel thought for a minute, he'd think of something that he loves. Oh, Kathy, you put in Lake Michigan. Yes. And if you can think of specific things on Lake Michigan, yes. I remember taking my nephew to a beach on Lake Michigan years ago, and he said to my sister, he said, "Mom, the sea." It does look like an ocean. What a fabulous place. And the beaches are getting so small. That's tough. Yeah, a beach without plastic. Avocados, there you go. I wonder if we could grow avocados in St. Louis. That's not necessarily a good thing. Okay, so get present to that, whether you put it in the chat or not. something that's really important to you that you love. Bob put pictured rocks and the UP of Michigan. Yeah, the Upper Peninsula. I have a niece, my niece's daughter is going to school there now. The Redwoods, Jessica, wonderful, thank you. So, so let me just give you a little background about Citizens Climate Lobby. The founder of Citizens Climate Lobby was Marshall Saunders, and I first met him when we were both volunteers in a different Citizens Lobby group called Results that's out to affect hunger and the worst aspects of poverty. And Marshall was doing a lot of work on microcredit. He was responsible himself, a huge amount of work. He was responsible for over 1 million loans to very, very low income people so they could work their way out of poverty. But when he started hearing about the environment and what was going on in it, he said, we've got to do something about it. And eventually he started Citizens Climate Lobby to do that. He didn't have any special training. He shared how in his first lobby meeting, he didn't know what to do with his hands. And then he tried to figure out what to do with his feet, you know, like that. He was just like, we got to do something about it. So he started this organization, and we're built on certain values. So do you want to put that slide up, Tim, that shows the values of Citizens Climate Lobby? Yeah, you want to do
Yes.
that? Okay.
Just one moment here.
Okay, well, I'll talk about them while you're doing it. One of them is focus. So we actually are working on what we consider to be the single most impactful solution to climate change, which is a national carbon fee and dividend. And Tim will talk more about that soon. And we're working on that in a way where we connect. So relationships are really important. We connect with everybody. We work to build relationships. We start with appreciation, and we start with gratitude, and we treat everyone with respect. So that's our approach. And Tom, are you going to go in the other room to do this on your phone? Sorry. Okay. Okay. So Tom is listening to me here because his phone didn't work. Okay. Okay. So then relationships. We will work to find common ground with the people that we're connecting with at mostly at the national level, but we also engage a lot of people at the local level. And then a third one, I'll talk about being nonpartisan. So we welcome everybody. It doesn't matter where you live or what you wear or who you voted for in the last election. None of that matters. We're really out to connect with everyone. And the reason for that is that we think that any person could be a potential ally. We think that everybody is a potential ally. And it's going to take everybody to solve this one. You know, Dr. Catherine Hayhoe said that recently that that climate change is a threat multiplier. If we solve this one, we solve a lot of risks, things we're challenged with. So let's look at how we're organized for a minute. So Citizens Climate Lobby has groups of volunteers, like we have one in St. Louis. There are over 400 in the United States. There are at least another 100 in other countries. Many of those are in Canada, but in a lot of other countries now. And we meet once a month. Our group likes to get our live national call, so we get on Zoom for a national call every month. And we have a guest speaker every month. And our methodology on those calls is and actually throughout the month, is education, practice, and action. So on the call, we have a guest speaker, so we learn about some new aspect of our issue. Then after the call, we practice communicating about that. And then we take action. So in our meeting, we plan what actions we're going to take. This right here is one of this month's actions, doing all sorts of actions, creating media, reaching out to our members of Congress, and reaching out to community leaders and faith-based leaders and academicians, and then building our group and supporting our group. So all those are the kinds of actions we take. So yeah, I think that's it for that part. So I want to then turn it over to Tim so that he can share this legislation with you. And this is the first bipartisan bill that's been on pipe pricing pollution that's been introduced in Congress. When it first got introduced, it had been 10 years since there had been a bipartisan pollution pricing bill in Congress. So Tim, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So you can see my screen,
Yes.
Carol? Super duper. Okay. So let me make sure. Okay, so the bill is called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. And I put a little sentence on the bottom here. This is like the short way to sum it up. It puts a fee on carbon-based fuels, but it returns that money directly back to American households. So here's a little more picture of it. Now, there's a lot of details, and in the few minutes that we have today, I'm not going to be able to go into all the nuts and bolts details, but basically it's putting a fee on fossil fuels close to the source, so at mines or wells or ports, and that money goes into a fund, and then 100% of it gets distributed to American households, and it gets distributed evenly to individuals. And there's some detail about like a border adjustment, so that will, if like some other country does not have a carbon fee, then some people might be a little worried that that'll put us at a disadvantage because we have a carbon fee. So there's a border adjustment that will take that into account for any goods that are being sold out of the country or imported into the country. I won't go into detail on the limited regulatory adjustment, but I'm happy to talk about it later. Next slide. Okay, so there's a climate solutions simulator called En-ROADS. So I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why we're excited about this bill. And this is one of them. The group that came up with this tool is called Climate Interactive, and they made this tool called En-ROADS, and it simulates the impacts of different policies on fossil fuel usage. And so you can make different kinds of adjustments, saying, well, what if we do nuclear, or what if we everybody gets solar panels, or all these different things. And I don't have time to run the whole tool or the video we have, but basically what we're getting from this tool, and this came out of this think tank, so it's not Citizens Climate Lobby did not create this tool. But what we're getting is, out of all the different solutions that you can imagine, having a carbon fee is like the biggest single solution. It'll go the furthest. There's no one solution that's going to get us, all the way to zero emissions. But this will get us a big chunk of the way there. Let's see here. I had some slides. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
40%. So 40% reduction by 2030. Sorry, I skipped over this slide here. That's why I'm a little.
Yeah, it's a really good one to look at because it tells us the benefits. I love it.
Yeah. So it's going to be good for people. It's not only just reducing emissions, but it's reducing pollution. And even without climate change, pollution is a big issue. Good for the economy. What I'll get to in just a slide or two is it's going to create 2 million jobs. And revenue neutral means it's not going to grow the size of the government, because all the money that comes from the fee goes directly to people. So there's no increase in government size. So what are some experts saying about this? There was a statement by over 3,500 economists that basically said a carbon dividends approach is the way to go. James Hansen, who many of you may know, climate scientist, former director of NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies. He's actually on the advisory board for Citizens Climate Lobby, and so he's for this bill. And he's one of the scientists who early on in very early started getting politically active, when a lot of other scientists just weren't saying much. So co-sponsors, I think there's 81 co-sponsors now. One of them is Republican. And in Missouri, here in the great state of Missouri, Lacey Clay and Emmanuel Cleaver have co-sponsored the bill. So that's one of the things, we like to talk about is write your representatives, your senators, and tell them we're concerned and let's get them to co-sponsor the bill. So do you know what? This is not some brand new idea. This idea has been around for many, many years, and already, a lot of other countries are doing this. So I just had this slide here. These are other countries that have implemented some form of carbon fee. And that's the last slide, so I'll turn it back to Carol. Oh, Carol, you're muted. Here.
I didn't realize that. The screen
Oh,
pops up and tells me I'm muted. So I wonder if anybody has any questions about that. You could certainly put them in the chat. And I love the things that were added earlier: fireflies in the summer, diversity of people and culture, and that slide about the benefits. If people have questions at all, you can certainly put them in the chat. But the one thing I really love about this bill that we're supporting is that the revenue neutrality and good for people. Studies show that it will actually be net positive for the lowest income people, and even the highest income people, it'll be a very small percentage of their net income, that they would have to pay in higher costs. But the dividends will more than cover people's increased costs. You can be sure when you put a fee on carbon-based fuels that those are going to be passed on to the consumer. But for many people, you'll break even or do better with getting a check. And the government's figuring out how to send us checks, right? These will come every month with a carbon fee and dividend. So if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat and we'll take a look at those. But let's look at solutions. Let's look at some other solutions, or just any solutions. If you're working on other solutions, I welcome you to throw that in the chat. What solutions are important to you? Things you're active on. You want to throw that drawdown slide up again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Drawdown is a book that was written a couple years ago, put together by Paul Hawken. And Paul Hawken is somebody I met years ago who does a lot of work on many different ways of focusing industry into things that make a difference. For this book, he pulled together 75 research fellows. One of them is here in St. Louis. Erica Boeing did research on one solution in this book, microwind, so you can find her right up in this book. She's famous. But they studied all different solutions and they ended up with 80 that they could measure to show how scaling that solution would have an impact on climate change and what the impact is. So it's an amazing book, and every solution in there is valuable. The thing that's really incredible is to see that the ones that end up at the top are not necessarily the ones you would expect. So they looked at everything. If they had, Paul Hawken says, if they had measured two of these together, that would have been number one. Education for girls and family planning. That would have been number one if they had measured them together. As it was, they were in the top 10. So a lot of different kinds of solutions. And the thing that Paul said at the end of his book is that one thing that is present in every one of them, but that's hard to measure, is community. So I love this book because you can look at, and actually my husband Tom has done this, he looked at every single solution and looked at how building community would strengthen and help bring that solution to scale. And Paul said we need to do all of them. So one of the things that Tom and I are working on, and with a whole bunch of other people, is creating eco-villages. And I know there's some people on this call that are creating eco-villages as well. There's a lot of that happening in St. Louis. And what we love about that is that it's a real opportunity to shift your lifestyle. Tom actually coined the phrase this morning that it's a solutions multiplier. So everything in this book, you can look to see how you could do that better in community. So we're creating eco-villages because they're like a demonstration to show people how to live more sustainably. Let's see. And really they're also like an opportunity to measure what difference you're having, the impact you're having. So Tom was talking about a session that a workshop he did the other day where they talked about the story of performance. And that's what eco-villages will give us an opportunity to do, is measure our performance with data. So it's one thing about really looking at how you could be net positive in energy, in carbon, put more carbon back in the soil, in water, how to use and reuse the water so that you never put any of it down the drain. How about that? So exploring what else is possible. That's what's exciting about an eco-village, I think. And then reconciliation eco-villages, really working with all the people in your larger neighborhood to include them and to engage them. And there are things about eco-villages that you can do no matter where you are. So in a minute, I'll put a link in the chat that gives you a link to our website, but also gives you a link to an interview that our friend David Holtz recently did with Tom that tells you a lot more about our eco-village. So I'd like to hear from you if you have any other ideas that you want to throw in there about other things in addition to Earth Day that you might be working on. We'd love to hear that. Things that you know will make a difference in terms of your lifestyle shifts that you've made. I know some of you have made some of those. Things you do in your everyday life to like eat more local food and walk more or take public transportation, ride a bike. All those kinds of things make a difference. And what Catherine Hayhoe says is that the most important thing you can do is tell people about it. Tell people about this issue, tell people about what you're doing, and engage people, especially people that you think might disagree with you. Tell them, because people are interested in what you're doing. So if we look at actions that you could take, man, this time has gone by fast, hasn't it? So there's a vegan diet. Yes, Catherine, I love it. Same here. Almost vegan. I do eat a little cheese, but I'm almost vegan. So Tim, if you wanted to put a few things in the chat about the links for Citizens Climate Lobby.
Yes, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so people don't see me popping back and forth.
Okay, yeah, so you can do citizensclimatelobby.org, of course, and then actions that it really would make sense for you to take to find out more about Citizens Climate Lobby and how you could participate. There's some short URLs like cclusa.org, and if you put /intro, you can go listen to a live call or a recording of a call. We do those every week. We get lots of people who call into those every week to just learn about Citizens Climate Lobby and how you can participate. And then you could also call your member of Congress. So there's that same thing with /monthly call, we've paused those for the moment because our members of Congress are swamped with phone calls about the pandemic. So we're actually not recommending that people do those, but you can join the system so that you'll get an email once we start them up again. And it gives you a little set of talking points and a really simple way to call one of your members of Congress. And then you can also do the one that's right. Yeah, you did that one. So that if you can write a letter to your member of Congress, and that's a very effective way of letting them know what the political will is, because it's their job to fulfill on the political will. It's our job to create it. So let them know what you're concerned about. And then another thing that people can do is endorse the bill. And that's energyinnovationact.org. So community leaders can do that. If you are one or you know one, I invite you to endorse the bill or invite someone to endorse the bill. And you get to say whether you're a community leader or not. Okay, so I'm going to quickly put in the, do you want to put in arizmendiecovillage.org?
Yeah, I can. Just a second, I had, this is our Facebook page right there.
Oh, good. Good.
I'm sorry, the intro, I typed into instead of intro, so that's not a good link.
Intro, so you should put that in, intro.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
And then I'm going to put the YouTube thing.
Okay. I think I've got your URL. Let me put that in there.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And does anybody have any questions? You can certainly contact us. You just look on the website and say, find your group, and you'll find us. You'll be able to connect with us on the citizensclimatelobby.org. A chicken coop with neighbors. Ah, they eat our kitchen scraps. We get their eggs. I love it. Okay, so that right there is a link to that video that I told you about, the interview Tom did. That's a really cool thing. So if anybody has any questions, I think Tim and I can back off a little bit from filling up everything. But are you going to put the intro one in again?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay. I just put my email. If anybody has any kind of questions, I'm very happy to trade emails or you can get on another Zoom call or something. Yeah, great. And if you do that intro call, then Tim will invite you to our next meeting, which is, we usually do our meetings on the second Saturday of each month. And in the middle of the day, we get on the national call, and then we meet afterwards. That's what we'll probably do next time. It's a little different with Zoom for all of it, but we're adapting. So, any questions? Thank you so much for being here, you guys. It's great. And we'll certainly send the link to the recording to all our members so more people can see it, because there are at least 500 people in the St. Louis area that follow our group. So there are thousands of people who are involved with Citizens Climate Lobby all over the US. So, okay. Anything you want to add, Tim? No, just thanks for being here, and yeah, absolutely. I enjoy doing actions. You see all the news and the newspapers or the on the internet. It's good to do an action. Yeah. And try to make a change, system change. Yeah, and if you take action, it makes a difference for you too. That's a good thing. Write a letter. It feels good. Yeah. And one of the things we do is coach each other too. So Tim loves to review letters to the editor before you send them in. He's really good at that. So yeah, almost a hobby now. Yeah, really. Okay. Well, thanks to the Earth Day folks. Thanks, Dr. And Dr. Watson.